Again, thanks for joining us today, and we can go ahead and get started. I always do this. I guess I should say my name. My name is Captain Brahman. I'm work for First Five Alameda County and co-founder of the Alameda County Fathers Corps. And we're going to go around and do some introductions right after we get started. Dara, you can go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dara Griffin. I'm a consulting assistant assisting Kevin with the Father Corps this year. So our agenda is as follows. Welcome and setup. We'll do a little bit of introducing of each other. We're going to show the Fatherhood Partnership video, hot off the presses. And then we will talk about how you get ready for your groups, what you're bringing, the do's and the don'ts, what you're seeing, what you believe the best practices are for handling virtual fathers groups, and then what to look out for. So we really want this to be like very conversational. It's less of a training and more of just a sharing opportunity for us to like iron sharpen iron and get better and get maybe some different ideas from what we might already be doing to do something different, because it's nice to also kind of like change it up sometimes too. So we can go on to the next slide. Since we have a smaller group today, we don't have to do this in the chat. We can do this, we can take turns. So let us know who you are, the position, where you work, and one thing you love about your job. So do you mind if I call on you? Okay, so Marcus, could you go first?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marcus Baker. I'm a parent advocate with Alameda County's Better Way Parent Engagement Program. And one thing I love about my job is the constant learning. I'm always learning from people that I talk to, families that I talk to, and it's just always a learning experience, whether and these are things that I can use outside of work as well. So it's very beneficial for my own personal life as well as my work life. So I'm always excited to learn new things and talk to new people. So
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you. How about Stanley?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stanley Lewis, and I am a program supervisor with A Better Way, and we work in conjunction with Alameda County. I'm actually Marcus's supervisor, and I have another one of my supervisees, Lamont Thomas, online as well. And what I enjoy about what I do is being able to collaborate with men from all walks of life and just to sit there and brainstorm and help. You know, we all help one another to just help and support one another in this game we call life. So I enjoy just, being able to just, sit down and have just regular conversations and help build one another as men. So thank you.
Thank you. Lamont.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lamont Thomas. I am a parent advocate for Better Ways Parent Engagement Program, Alameda County Social Services. I'm also a member of the Fatherhood, co-facilitator for Fatherhood Circle, and a member of Fatherhood Corps. One thing that I love about my job is bringing fathers in and showing them a way to navigate through the system without having the social biases that have coming from from gender, okay, and economic status. So to help them go through the CPS system and in hopes to reunify with their children. So yeah, and I hope I answered that question.
You did. Thank you, Lamont.
Thank
Juan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Cuba. I work for Family Pets, and my title is Parent Stress Counselor, and also I'm a parent group facilitator. Something that I really like about my work is the possibility, I think some of you already mentioned this, to to create a safe space for parents and fathers in this case more than anything. And it's I come from a place of popular education model. So even that I'm the facilitator, I always take something with me and help me to get grounded, to be humble about the privilege that I have in my life, but also to be able to help members of my community to find their own beat. So happy to be there. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Juan, thank you. Welcome, Antonio. We're doing introductions. I'll let you get settled. Chris.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Gibson. I'm the program specialist for the Alameda County Fatherhood Initiative. I guess one thing I like, it's a lot of things I like, but I guess the biggest thing for me that I like about my job is when you've been working with a father and the light goes on and they actually get what you've been trying to, help them see, as far as whether it's child development or disciplining practices or anything like that. It's like, oh wow, I understand it now. It's like that brings the biggest joy to my day and to my job and to my career. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Darren.
Sorry about that. Someone has just joined the party. He just jumped up in my lap here. He's trying to he hearing voices. So he want to see what's going on. Get out. Sorry about that. I was trying to click my mouse, and he jumped up sitting on the mouse. I'm Darren White. I'm the founder and executive director of Realize Potential Inc. What I like about my job is just sharing the knowledge and wisdom that I was blessed to be given by my father and just positive men in my life, and just knowing that hopefully some of the information that I've learned through all these workshops and through school and just being a Black man that's a father, sharing it with new fathers. I really enjoy when I get new fathers, and I can give them some information, and I'll be like, look out for this, or wait until this happens, because it's gonna happen, right? Stuff like that. And I always enjoy being part of these lovely trainings and Father's Court for the past 9 years, Kevin?
9, we're in our 9th year, brother. Yep.
9 years. So yeah, love it. Miss those lunches, but I
love
it.
one day, hopefully we'll be
able
to
come
back together.
It's all, hey, if I have to give up a lunch to stay healthy, it's all good.
Absolutely. I heard that. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Thank you, Darren. And
no
Antonio.
problem. Anytime.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Antonio Isais. I'm a family engagement specialist here at Tennyson High School. It's a pleasure to be here. Sorry for joining late. I've only been in this role for 2 months, but it really has been a pleasure to serve the families in the community that I grew up in. I think about what difference maybe it would have made in my family's life to have someone that could have advocated for us or helped point us in the right direction. And so it's a humbling experience. It also tugs on the heartstrings more than I was expecting, but I'm happy to be here. And one of my peers is actually joining, Eduardo, so hopefully he'll be here soon.
Okay, perfect. We'll keep a lookout for him. So thank you, everyone, for being here again. You have a lot of choices of what you do with your time. And so let's get into the conversation.
Thanks, Dara. Just trying to get my slide deck to respond.
That's happened to me before too.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I love about my job. I told you who I was. I didn't say one thing I love about my job. It's a real privilege to be able to do something that you enjoy doing. It's a lot of people out there with jobs that, they don't enjoy, and they're just doing it to pay the bills and to make life work. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to do something that I enjoy doing, which really makes it so it doesn't quite seem like work. So I definitely understand that that is a privilege that a lot of society does not enjoy. So I enjoy what I do, and it's a privilege to do it. So there we go. So this is the Fatherhood Partnership video that we produced. This is the long version, so this is 8 minutes, but we have a shorter version, which is only 2 minutes. But there was so much powerful and compelling testimony that it just didn't seem right leaving it on the, cutting it out and leaving it on the producer's floor. So we did a long version, and this version right here, you get a chance to hear from fathers groups facilitators themselves, but you also get a chance to hear from dads who participated in some of your fathers groups, and how it impacted their lives, and just how useful and helpful it was for them to come together with other fathers and talk about the joys and challenges of fatherhood. So for the new folks that are on the call, this Fatherhood Partnership program is really it's focused on creating father-specific parenting education and support groups and building the capacity of you guys who are here participating in the training to facilitate father-specific parenting education and support groups. So I'm going to go ahead and start the video. Can I get a thumbs up just to make sure you can hear the sound? The Fatherhood Partnership is a program that is focused on building the capacity of organizations to facilitate father-specific parenting education and support groups. We are laser focused on creating new father-specific programming. And the reason we felt that was important is because there wasn't a lot of father-centered programming that existed before. There are parenting programs, there are moms programs, but nothing really father-specific.
There's a lot of information that fathers don't really get an opportunity to receive, be it because they don't have time or that things haven't been catered towards them. But I think it's important to also have a space where dads can kind of relax and feel the ability to connect with other dads that are sharing some of the same issues that they're having.
This is our 3rd year offering the Fatherhood Partnership. And this is the first year of us being able to offer small mini grants for our participating agencies this year. This year we had 8 organizations apply and were successful in receiving their mini grants and actually launched their services. In past years, we had organizations who were interested and wanted to do the work and wanted to offer these programs, but we were asking them to do more without more resources. And so this time we were able to offer small $4,500 mini grants, but it actually worked, and these organizations launched services. And from what I understand, they're doing some pretty amazing work.
We've had men come into the group that have been going through some custody battles and different things like that. And hearing their stories, they feel very isolated, very lonely. They feel overwhelmed, and having a place where you can share your story, be heard. I guess be heard is the most important thing, a place to be heard and encourage, and even resources come out of those discussions and those times together.
Most have never had the experience of being in like an all-male or all-fathers group like this.
Antes de que yo encontrara este grupo, yo estaba perdido. Yo era un hombre fuerte, que tenía 3 trabajos, mantenía a mi familia. Al separarme, tuve que seguir manteniendo no solo mi familia, sino la familia de la mamá de los niños, y fue muy difícil. Empecé a caer, empecé a fallar al trabajo, empecé a perderme yo mismo. Pensé que no había futuro en la vida, pensé que todo era ya una condena de terminar solo en la calle, homeless, sin trabajo y sin nada. Hasta que encontré este grupo, me di cuenta que sí hay ayudas. Lo que pasa es que los padres como yo, que no están literados, que nomás se dedican a trabajar, no saben que hay oficinas, que hay lugares, que hay entidades, que hay grupos.
The guys are very willing to help each other. The guys are very willing to show up for each other. I would say a camaraderie.
Y aparte de eso, nos dieron la oportunidad de expresarnos, pues, como papás, qué era lo que estábamos pasando. Y fue bonito porque cada papá daba su punto de vista, sus experiencias, y quizás lo que uno no había vivido, nosotros estábamos aprendiendo de los que ya han pasado situaciones.
Sure enough, that masculine thing went down like
oh, being a dad is not just that. We wanted to be more closer to our kids, and it's not enough to be a commando or a military type of dad. You gotta be listening to what they need or giving what they need. Whatever troubles that they had, you should be backing them up and supporting your kids. And we kind of lack of that because we always work, bills that needed to be paid, you need to get 2 jobs and you come home, they're all sleeping. And everybody has the same experience and we don't have enough time for our kids. And I found out, I said, wow, this is cool. I think I'm gonna stick with it.
The most important topic is about dealing with anxiety when you are going through difficult moments. Also, the concept of radical acceptance, which means being capable to understand that there are things that are out of your control, but the only thing you can do is how do you react to it.
Porque aquí encontré la ayuda que no había encontrado en ningún lado. He intentado buscar la manera de que me ayuden para poder mejorar en el trato con mis hijos, y este lugar fue el único lugar donde realmente me dieron todo lo que yo necesitaba.
One thing that came up was, in a sense, kind of, this implicit kind of minimization of the dad's role. And so Khalid played the video, which I think he did that one, of guys who were talking about, that they just wanted to be seen as, an equal parent.
Now I realize being a dad was big. It's a big responsibility. And you gotta be true to yourself that you have this and you did this, you gotta support it. Support your family, love your family, and provide for your family. And don't forget that thing up there. God's will.
We actually had a couple of people from the county level come to our groups. They got his virtual so they could just, zoom in. And fathers had a lot of questions. And it was really good to see those questions answered and them get resources for custody and child support needs.
Primeramente, me atendieron cuando yo no tenía cómo dejar mi estrés. Yo me encerraba en el baño a llorar. Ellos me dijeron que no era necesario, que había gente que podía ayudarme. Inmediatamente me consiguieron una entrevista con gente de la corte, gente de la policía y gente del distrito escolar, lo cual inmediatamente cambió mi problema y ahora tengo a mis hijos 50-50 y sigo ayudándolos como antes lo hacía.
Success for this program to me looks like, every day of the year there's a drop-in group that a dad can access, and COVID presented a lot of problems, but one of the benefits of COVID, it let us know that it's okay to do virtual programming and that it works and that dads are interested and will show up and log on.
Especially on this pandemic that happened. Everybody got laid off, but they were still continually communicating with us what's going on. They're very supportive. They led us to get some food stamp, gave us all the resources, the rent assistance. It was a big help for us. All the necessary things that the government or the districts were given, they were informed and we got it.
I'm hoping that as restrictions end, we'll be able to continue in person. It was a really engaging group of guys and really varied in terms of where we were all coming from, that kind of thing. So I do hope to continue. And actually, we've had a couple of meetings since the formal end of it.
From my perspective, the fathers needed the most was the space, the opportunity, the place, to be able to provide just some protected time for them to step away from their responsibilities as father and father figures, to be able to kind of get in the company of other men that were positive and supportive. That's what they needed. And I think, especially in the context of the pandemic, in the context of all this chaos kind of going on around us, to have that protected space, that safe space was really needed, was very valuable, was very valued. And to be honest with you, after our time was up, we've continued to still keep in touch and we've kind of gone beyond the clock because it's just super important for these guys to still stay in contact and stay connected.
I definitely appreciate the commitment from the organizations, the commitment from the leadership of these organizations to take on such a big, such a heavy lift for a small amount of money. So I want to bring it back to, thank you. You see why I couldn't cut it down to a 2-minute video. I mean, the brother in the sombrero, we could have done a video of him alone. I mean, if you just heard his testimony, it was amazing. I just really appreciate the work that you guys are doing, because a lot of the feedback we get from dads when they first start is that they feel like they're going on this fatherhood journey alone. And the groups that you guys are creating and running, you're providing space so that they don't have to feel alone. And that's what he talked about. He talked about feeling alone. And so, Juan, I think he was a part of your group, wasn't he? No?
Someone else was in the interview too, but no, the guy with the sombrero, no. Unfortunately,
Right.
It was amazing.
He was amazing. Maybe it was Hayward Unified then. But anyway, it really speaks to the importance of the work that you guys are doing. And so getting back to that work, I want you guys to think about and get some feedback from you. We're not going to go into breakouts. Like I said, the group is small enough that we can have this discussion together. But as far as your groups that you are either having now or have had, what's been working well for you? And that could be anything. That could be the topics, that could be the platform that you use, the outreach strategies, whatever. What has been working well for you in your groups? And Chris, maybe we should go to you and have you start. Chris is part of our training team today. But he has, been running fathers groups for many, many years now. And so I just want you to share a little bit, Chris, about what works well for you in your groups.
You know what, I think what really works well for us is the ability to adapt to what's going on, right? I'm always prepared with a curriculum. I always have something prepared. But in check-in, I may get 4 or 5 guys that's harping about family court or child welfare or something to that nature. And sometimes you just have to go with what's going on with the group, right? Having that flexibility to meet them where they are. If this is a need that's coming up, let's talk about it. And pulling the other guys that have experienced some of the things that these fathers are going through and allowing them and giving them the platform to talk about what worked for them. What was some advice? What was something that they didn't know starting the process, right? That these fathers need to know going into this thing. So that's one thing that's been going well for me. Another thing is developing relationships with the guys, right? It's more than just come to the group. I think Khalil said it in the video, but it's more than just coming to the group. It's follow up. How's your day been? If you know that this particular client has a supervised visit coming up, checking in with him around that. Ask them, what do he know about child development, and what ways can they play a role in child developing with their particular child. So it's just really throwing your all into it. But those are just a couple of the things. I know many of you guys have stuff to add to that, so I don't want to take too much, but those are just 2 of the things that work for me really, really well.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else want to share what works well for them in your groups, in your fathers groups?
I just want to elaborate on what Chris just said, because that was so great about what he's speaking about, meeting the fathers where they're at, and then just giving them that space to basically kind of like vent, right? Because we would have a curriculum ready to speak about in our groups, right? But during the check-in, a father might be going through something with the system or with their child, right? And they just need that space to kind of vent, and the other fathers, be that support and provide that positive feedback to let that father know, like, it's going to be okay, right? You might be in the midst of the storm, in the eye of the storm right now, but you're going to come out the other side. You're going to be fine. So I just wanted to piggyback on that. That was great. And what he said, and which is so profound, is something that we do as well within our fatherhood circle group, is meeting people where they're at and giving them that space so they can be heard, where they feel like they're not being heard by anyone.
It's a great point. And, you know, to be honest, if you don't allow them to talk about what's important to them and what's going on for them right then, they're not going to hear the curriculum anyway, you know, because they're going to be preoccupied with what's going on and what's in their face today. So that is very important. Thanks for pointing that out and lifting that up. Anybody else want to share what works well for them in their groups?
Kevin, I can speak. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sabrina. We'll come to you next, Juan.
So sorry, I'm driving. We had I'm sure you've all seen on the news, in Hayward, we had to close 2 schools in our district. So we have a lot of families that we're trying to tend to today. So I apologize for not having my camera on. But one thing that I think works well for us too, what we've learned is it's not about how many fathers you can get on the call or how many fathers that you can attend to, but the quality of the small groups that you can also have. It's sometimes difficult to be in a forum where you have 40 fathers and you feel very successful, right? But you're not able to hear all of their voices. And so we learned that it doesn't mean that bigger is better. It means that smaller can be more quality. And it allowed us to develop those personal relationships that Chris was speaking to. And I also agree that the group that we're working with, of course, I don't lead the smaller groups because I allow that to be a fatherhood space. But I definitely say that one thing that they have found is that to have a curriculum again, but then also to have the ability for fathers just to also lead the discussion. And then what we're trying to do as well is this year, what we're trying to work on, because we're going to do a small retreat in the early December to start doing some planning, is to find ways to lift up our current fathers as leaders and allowing them to have an opportunity to lead some discussions themselves. So it's not just our staff, but the fathers really feel as ownership of the meeting and also the space.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Sabrina. Juan, go ahead.
A lot of the things that you have said, I think is important. And in my experience with the group, as a facilitator, it's important for me to make sure that the topics that I bring in the curriculum, whatever, are relevant to their own experience. Even when they're doing the check-in, I try to do the connection. How can I use some of the information that they are giving me or to the group and kind of link to what I bring in the curriculum? So I think it's a good way to reinforce some of these important concepts. At the same time, you want to validate their own experience, right? Another thing that I think has been working and that I've been trying to do lately is giving them homeworks. You know, like for the next week, I want you guys to try something in particular exercise and see what that brings. Because I think I want always to try to do the connection, because you can feel good to talk about things, but what's next? What is the next step? Okay, you know, I'm start to being aware about how I deal with emotions, but put that in practice. You know, oh, you know what? Last week, my daughter said something, and instead to, you know, kind of like get as usual I get, you know, I check myself and I stop to say something that probably was the wrong thing. So that's something that you want to encourage them to be aware of their own process.
Thanks, Juan.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Juan. So I heard relationships are important, building the relationships, being flexible, allowing space for the fathers to lead, make sure the curriculum is relevant to what is going on in the fathers' lives at a particular point. Small isn't always a bad thing. It allows you to build those relationships. And then, as Juan just mentioned, give them some in-between homework to-dos to pay attention to. So thanks. Those are all really good things that, and a lot of it we're going to touch on moving forward. And of course, when you don't move your mouse for a while. There we go. Next, we're going to talk about preparation, what it takes to prepare for your fathers groups. one of the most important is identify a male facilitator or co-facilitator. I think this is old news to you guys. You guys already know that. Prepare staff and coworkers. When we get back to in-person trainings or in-person workshops, you really need to prepare your staff and coworkers for greeting and welcoming fathers into the space. A lot of spaces, folks are not used to seeing men in those spaces, particularly men of color. And so we want to make sure that when their dads do show up, that they are welcomed and they feel welcomed. Operationalize the father-friendly principles in your organization. So a way to do that, a way to get your space ready is to take steps towards implementing the father-friendly principles. And then identify ways to provide incentives. If you're not an organization that has a history of serving men and serving dads, it might not hurt to offer some incentives. It doesn't hurt to offer incentives if you do have a history of serving dads. And so again, I want to go back to you guys. Can you briefly describe how you prepare for your groups, whether that be 1 to 2 weeks out or the day of? What do you guys do to prepare and get ready for your fathers groups? Chris, I'm gonna go to you first.
I normally do about a week out because our group is bi-weekly. So I normally do about a week out. I'm making sure that I'm going over my curriculum. I'm looking for any topics in social media that deals with my curriculum. Anything with celebrities, like this past week, the big news was the baby in the conflict with his baby mama on social media. They had an argument on Instagram. So certain things like that. So I tend to go a week out and try to look at quotes and things like that, and then look at activities or games that I can bring in. And yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else want to share what it is that you guys do to prepare for your fathers groups?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
I was just
Kevin.
about to call on you, Darren. I hadn't heard from you yet.
I'm stuck. I'm eating, but
Go ahead.
But I prepare. I prepare like Brother Chris about a week out. You know, I do mine bi-weekly. So a week out, I prepare. I contact my speaker, make sure that they have everything that they agreed upon to talk about their topic. Make sure that I'm sending out the links to everybody to make sure they have the link and receive the link so they can log in, and just making sure I have everything up and going. And I want to touch on something you said prior to preparing for the group, when you said that a lot of people prepare your staff or whatever because they're not used to seeing men in groups and men of color in groups. One day when I was at the mentoring center, I was walking up into the mentoring center, and there was these two white folks sitting on a bench out front, and I overheard them say, "Oh, that must be some drug rehab place because I see all these black guys going in there." And I was like, wow, why has it got to be, something negative? You know what I mean? And it was, and they were coming for the, I can't even think of the workshop we call it, but it was a positive workshop that we had, weekly. So yes, a lot of people aren't used to seeing men, especially men of color, coming to a group. And when they do, like what they did, they projected something negative on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Thanks, Darren.
No
Anybody
problem.
else? Okay. Outreach and recruitment. This is a trend tricky. Starting a group during a pandemic and doing it so that it's online. Outreach and recruitment can be tricky. So I want to hear about what has worked for you guys as well. Identify your target audience. Who are you hoping to reach? Develop an outreach plan. It is not an accident. It doesn't just happen because you've sent out a flyer or sent out a couple of emails. You have to do more than that. So you need to establish a plan. Promote fatherhood groups and plans internally So at your organization, you should have your other programs promoting these groups. It is very important so that everybody is aware. If you have an organization that is serving families, that is serving parents, it is very important that they support you with your outreach to dads in particular. Recruit new fathers and those with different life experiences. Go to where men are and fathers are, whether that be youth sports teams, barbershops, game stops. Labor and delivery is a place because dads are at the birth of their children. That's a good place to reach dads as well. And then partner with other organizations that serve men. So if you don't serve men at your organizations, look for those organizations who do manhood development programs, workforce development programs, probation, child support. These are all places that work with men on a regular basis. And then highlight the incentives that you're offering. Highlight the incentives that you're offering. Identify fathers who can support outreach. So if you have some dads that you're already working with, you lean on them and maybe even incentivize them to support you with outreach. Ask moms to invite their co-parent to these groups, and then have a compelling reason for why fathers and father figures should attend. These are all important outreach strategies. And I want to hear from you guys. What works for you as far as outreach and recruitment and even retention?
Well, one thing I want to throw out there real fast is we had got the idea and we're going to try to implement it coming up, is partnering with a local pizza place where you can put your flyers on their boxes. So, you know, Sunday comes up, you know, they ordering pizza, things like that. You can put your advertisement on their boxes, and you know, that's some easy, you know, advertisement right there. You know, it's really a no-brainer when it comes to that one. Another strategy also, especially when it comes to virtual recruitment, is utilizing social media. You know, hop on your company's Facebook page or Instagram and do a quick, you know, 1 minute or 2 minute description of what's going on, what you're doing, and what you're looking for. I mean, everything is virtual right now, so let's just, you know, let's go with it. Let's just jump into it. Maybe you do a recap of a group. You know, this week we talked about co-parenting, and here were the top 5 things that our fathers talked about as far as co-parenting, things like that. If you guys are interested in learning more things like this or a father's perspective, the information is below. We hope to hear from you soon. So just, you know, start utilizing the free platforms that we have and getting our, you know, getting our word out there. So yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else want to share some of your outreach strategies that you use to get dads to show up and be engaged?
Hey, Kevin, I hit barbershops. Like Christopher said, I use my social media and my network that I have. And I also reached out to churches as well. And when I said my network, I reached out to, you know, Department of Violence Prevention, and talked to some of the case managers that I knew there. California Youth Outreach, talked to the case managers there, and just asked them if they have fathers on their caseloads. And then, you know, they were worked out for those agencies and the young men. They got double incentivized. They got an incentive from me, and they got an incentive from their case managers to attend. So that's what worked for me.
Thanks, Darren. Anybody else want to share? Another place where that can support you with your outreach is, I don't know if you guys are aware of the First Five's Help Me Grow listserv. They have a listserv that goes out every 2 weeks that just blasts out to thousands of folks that are on that list, and it provides kind of resources. So if you have a flyer, you can attach your flyer to it. You can send it to me. I'll send it to the Help Me Grow team, and they can include it in that listserv. So you can have it announced every 2 weeks. And also they have a phone line where parents call to receive support if they have concerns about their children. That's another place where If they are aware of your group, they can send dads your direction. I'm going to have Help Me Grow attend, I can't remember what month it is, but we have a virtual resource fair scheduled where we're going to bring folks in so that you guys are aware of different resources that are available in Alameda County so that you can share with the fathers that you guys are working with, and Help Me Grow will be there as well. Anybody else want to share a little bit about outreach strategies, recruitment strategies?
Kevin and Hayward Unified, this is Sabrina again, but I think that what we're trying to do too is it's more than just a meeting with, fathers. It's really the follow-up conversations, them knowing that you care, just even actually giving them a call before a meeting, and not just to invite them to a meeting, but ask them how their week is going. Really, what we try to promote is like, you can't package this even if you have a curriculum, right? It's really about that authentic relationship where a father feels that they have a connection with someone in your group. And really also, and for us, because we work for an educational entity, we've been trying to find ways at the end of our grant to find like a way where we can connect fathers again, like with spending some quality time with their children, because we really know that that's what we're trying to do in our goal as educational entity. And so I would just say that like, it's really just beyond those meetings as well. It's really fathers feeling a connection with the staff and with the group.
Thanks, Sabrina. That's a great point. It's all about the relationships, and that's not, exclusive to dads. If you're doing quality family or parent engagement, you have to establish a relationship. Parents have to feel like you care. And that's no different than fathers. So I appreciate those comments. Anybody else want to share before we move on? Outreach recruitment strategies that have worked for you? Okay.
Real quick, this is Jorge. I'll share real quick.
Okay.
That just sharing my experience with the groups as well has helped. And how much I've gotten out of the groups, and the benefits and the resources, and just letting them know that there's a lot out there.
Right. That helps with building that connection and building that relationship when you share your personal stories and personal experiences. So yeah, that's a good point too. Thanks, Jorge. What challenges have you had with outreach and recruitment of fathers? And then also, how did you address these challenges? Were there any challenges when you first started with outreach and retention, especially given that we're in a virtual space? It's a lot easier to establish and build relationships when you are in person, when you can shake somebody's hand, give them a hug or whatever, break bread with them. It's a lot different and a little more tricky when you're doing it in a virtual space. So anybody want to share what challenges they've experienced with recruitment and outreach and how you address those?
I know for me, just like you said, the whole not making a personal connection was a challenge. Also, not having people that could log on to our Zoom. Initially when we started our virtual groups, we were on Teams, and it was virtually impossible for anybody to get on. So finding the right platform to where it's easily accessible to everyone. Another challenge was for us, we target a particular father clientele, and we, for whatever reason, just was not getting that particular clientele, but mainly because they wasn't really on virtually, right? They wasn't connected to the partners that we had and things like that. So those were some challenges. And so how we addressed those challenges, one was through social media, and then two, I ain't gonna say go out and do some outreach, but just whenever we had an opportunity to connect with someone by giving them a card or something like that, we would do it like that. And then just kind of flooding more than normal, right? For every 10 invites, you might get one person. So just over flooding the market with what we wanted. And also leaning on our sisters, right? Hey, look, you have a dad
that, you have a partner that, you guys are about to have a baby. Listen, can I talk with both of you guys to see if he's interested, and then I can take it from there with him, just doing things like that to try to, make up some time and some clientele.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else want to share challenges and how you resolve those challenges as far as outreach and recruitment?
The challenge that I had for some of the younger fathers, they didn't have laptops, so they had to, log on with their phones, and they had to try to find a quiet place, and that was one of the main issues for the younger brothers that were logging in, and some of it was retention. I tried to get as many people to come back as possible, but life gets in the way. Things, people have things to do, and especially the younger fathers, they still young, so they out here doing what they doing. But that was the main thing, is that a lot of the younger brothers don't have a laptop.
Thanks, Darren. And this goes back to what Sabrina was talking about, the kind of in-between workshop work. Did you try to stay connected with folks in between sessions through either emails or phone calls or anything, Darren? And was that helpful?
Yes. And going back a little bit, somebody talked about the relationships. The relationships that I built with some of the fathers, I'm still in contact with him today. I saw one yesterday, right? I donated some clothes to him, and we were talking. He was having some issues, with his teenage daughter. And as you know, I had teenage daughters, so we were able to have we had like a 45-minute conversation yesterday, and there's a few other fathers that I'm in contact. They called me out the blue, and I called them as well. And I was downtown Oakland last week, and somebody was honking at me, and I turned around. It was one of the guys that was in the work group. Nice. So yeah, staying in contact in between sessions, and the relationships that are now built. These are going to be, I feel, with these like 4 guys that I built those with, out of all the guys, these are going to be lifelong. You know, so it's great.
Right. And let me ask you guys this: is building those relationships, does that help with getting those dads to recruit other dads for you? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to share before we move on?
To answer your question, Kevin, oh yes, word of mouth is one of the biggest, reasons on why a group, particularly any business, actually is word of mouth. If you put out a quality product, if you put out a quality service, people are going to talk about it. I can't tell you how many times I got a phone call from somebody, that was a dad that was like, look, man, I got a brother-in-law, or I got a brother or one of my friends that need your services, that need your help. Can I connect them? So most definitely the relationships do help a lot. Right. And going back to that partnership video, listening to those dads, I think it's it's a given that they're telling other men that are in their circles about the group and bringing them to the group when they, because of how it impacted them. So yeah, word of mouth is very important. So we're gonna do this. You give your name, and one quality I like to bring as a provider to my groups is, and then what that quality is. So I'll start, and then I'm gonna call on somebody, and then the next person can call on the next person and whatnot. So we are gonna put you on the spot. So we'll give you a second or two to think about it. I'm Kevin, and one quality I like to bring as a provider is my commitment to this work. And I'm gonna go to you, Darren.
My name is Darren, and the one quality that I like to bring to this service is my truth. I I give it to them raw and uncut. I let them know that, you know, I've been through some things, and, you know, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And so I give them my truth.
Call on somebody, Darren.
And can I jump in? I can jump in.
Okay, go ahead, Stanley.
Okay, come on, Brother Lewis.
Thank you. My name is Stan, and the one quality I like to bring to my provide is my passion. I'm very passionate about, you know, working with the men and just, you know, supporting them in all aspects that I can. So now I'm going to pass it on to Lamont Thomas.
Thank you, Stan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lamont. One quality I like to bring as a service provider is, and I hate to sound repetitive, but dedication. Dedication. You know what? At this point, I'm going to call it dedication, right?
I like that.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I'd like to go ahead and I'll go ahead and pass it to my brother Jorge.
Right on, Lamont. Thank you. I'm Jorge, and one quality I like to bring as a service provider is knowledge, right? Sharing the knowledge to everybody that I inquired over the last few years. So, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to Brother Marcus.
Hi, my name is Marcus. One quality I'd like to bring as a service provider is lived experience and how to relate with other dads by going through my own situation and sharing my story and listening to theirs and how much it relates. And I would like to call on my brother Marvin Jordan.
Hello, my name is Marvin. One quality that say that I bring, most of you said it just in different wording, reality, you know? Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing, and you know, I'm gonna just tell it like it really is, you know?
Thanks, Marvin. I haven't seen you for a while, brother. I saw you at Costco a couple of weeks ago, but you were too far away for me to reach you.
But I seen you at Costco once again.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Go ahead and call on somebody, Marvin.
Oh, okay. I think I will call on Antonio.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm Antonio. I also love Costco. One quality I like to bring as a service provider is humility. I know I don't have all the answers. I'm not a dad, but I do have my own lived experience, and I love a dad that's not perfect, and I think we all know what maybe that's like, so humility. I'm gonna pass it to Sabrina.
Sabrina Randa, Hayward Unified School District, and one quality I'd like to bring as a provider is motivation and inspiration. You know, I think this work is so important and critical to our students. And I just want to motivate you all to continue it, because even if we're making small strides, it's really big to some fathers. And I always say this same story, as I had two fathers in my life. I lost both of them. And every day I remember something that they've always told me to keep the work going. And I just continue to motivate and inspire others that this is important. And thank you all for doing it. And I'll turn it over to Eduardo. Eduardo, are you there? My FES, Mother FES from Hayward Unified.
I am. Thank you. Great video earlier in the meeting, by the way. I love that. I was wondering if I can get a copy. I was just like so touched by you know, the feedback of our work. If I can bring, let's see, I would say compassion and understanding. You know, bringing, kind of having that safe space is kind of like my goal, is just letting them know that they're welcomed, that there's somebody here that understands where they're coming from, and has in one way, shape, or form been there in their shoes, or could at least understand the pain behind some of these circumstances, but providing just compassion and understanding, and a safe space for them to express and share some of their stories.
Thanks, Eduardo. Can you call on someone? And welcome, Barbara.
All right, let's see who hasn't gone.
I think Alberto hasn't gone. Juan hasn't gone.
I'll nominate myself, man.
All right, thank you for making it easy.
There you go, man. All right. Man, so I've been listening in, and I apologize for not being as interactive as I normally am. I'm just doing 3 things at the same time right now. But one of the things I really like to bring, man, is the opportunity to learn something that that you know you haven't learned before, or that maybe you have questions about or too afraid to ask. And so I always ask these questions like, what is something you want to talk about that you normally wouldn't talk about with other people? And so just the space, man, creating a comfortable space for people to feel comfortable to ask whatever they want to ask. You know, whether this is CPS involved, you know, just really uncomfortable stuff. And sometimes I'll throw things out there, and it might get a little awkward, but the whole point of it is I just want to make sure that dads feel really comfortable in that space. So it's just making that space available to them, however they might need it, you know. So just really focusing on making a safe, comfortable, open, non-judgmental space.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Juan next.
Well, my name is Juan Cuba, and something that I like to bring as a service provider would be honesty, and that can be applied to different ways. But I want to make sure that the people see that I'm facilitating, that I don't have to have all the answers, and also, you know, the possibility to make mistakes, which is part of the process. And I want to make that process real for people to see. So I'm gonna, with that, tag who haven't yet participated.
Dara.
All right, go for it.
Did you call me?
I did.
Okay. Everyone says, like, I like to bring some level of humor, you know, sometimes to the groups, because what we're dealing in right now is kind of a lot. So just to kind of lighten it up sometimes, just some humor, a few jokes, always appropriate, but some humor.
That's great.
Barbara, I know you're just joining us. Did you want to go? Your name and then one quality you like to bring as a provider. If you don't want to go, that's fine too. You're muted.
I just give my name. My name is Barbara Walker, and peace of mind. I would bring peace of mind. You know, like, yes, encouragement. Yes, I would bring encouragement. That's what I would bring to this group. Yeah.
Thanks, Barbara.
A service provider, encouragement.
Thanks, Barbara. And I think we got everybody. Did I miss anyone? Did we miss anyone? I don't think so. So we got commitment, truth, passion, dedication, knowledge, lived experience, reality, humility, inspiration, compassion and understanding, opportunity to learn, honesty, humor, peace of mind, and encouragement. So if we can all work towards bringing a little bit of that to our work, I think we'll be in good shape. I think our families that we'll be working with will be in good shape. So I thank you guys for that. And Chris, I believe it's you.
All right, gentlemen. FYI, I have my son here with me, my 10 months. So if you hear some stuff in the background, that's because he's talking with me, presenting with me. So do's or don'ts, right? Here's just a list of things through my experience, especially virtually over groups. Here's some do's and don'ts. So my do's: have your curriculum or your content to be covered and ready. You know, like I stated earlier, you know, get you a curriculum. Make sure that your curriculum is relatable, or if it's not, you know, translate it to where it is relatable to your clients, and always have it ready. Always just be ready to have that, and be prepared to actually lecture sometimes, because some days guys come into the groups and they just, there's the participation is virtually a non-factor, and it's like pulling teeth. Is really hard to get guys to participate. So just kind of be prepared to lecture. Establish your group agreements, have a list of things that the guys, you and the guys can agree upon that you will do in your groups. Making sure that everybody feels safe, making sure that everybody's able to share and participate, making sure that if you're like me, you have a real lax group, but when presenters come, make sure that the group is behaving themselves pretty good. Utilize social media, not just the Facebook and the Instagram and things like that, but utilize what goes on there as well. I follow several different dad pages on Facebook and Instagram. I use topics, just from all over the world. So utilizing social media would be big. Utilizing breakout rooms. And this could be for multiple purposes, right? If you want to have a small chat talk, you can, divide your group into several different rooms. Or if there's a client that, just needs some one-on-one time, you can go into that room and have them, vent or talk everything out without it interrupting the larger group. So utilize your breakout rooms. Be flexible. The biggest thing that we're having, especially with the virtual, is being flexible and allowing fathers to discuss what is happening with them. Like I said earlier, have your curriculum ready, but if something comes up and check in, being able to table the curriculum for another day or a later time in the group, to allow these guys to talk about what's going on with them. I think someone said it earlier about being heard, right? Fathers are in a society now and are dealing with services now where they're just not being heard. They're not being listened to. They're going against family court. They're going into child welfare. They're going into family mediation, and already it's a ding against them because they're a father. And they're being told that they don't have any rights. They're being told that because they're a father, they don't know how to support a child or care for a child. And so just giving them that ability to talk and to get things moving forward. Thank you so much. Start and finish on time. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. I think if you start and finish on time, you don't have to worry about getting people, to come back. If we go over, I tell them, I say, look, y'all, I'm trying to get y'all out of here. But if y'all keep talking, that's on y'all. But I'm finished at 7 o'clock. I started at 5. I am done at 7, regardless of what's going on. Bring in content experts, right? Anytime we deal with child welfare, I call Alameda Child Welfare or CPS to come in and talk to us about certain things. Child abuse prevention, child support. Get child support in because they have the knowledge that your fathers need, and they will answer questions. So get the content experts, especially with us. We started a Spanish speaking group. And so making sure that our content experts are relatable to what's going on with that particular culture, right? Immigration laws, everything that's been going on with the border. A lot of men and women up here, their family was down there. They were sent back, but the children are here. And what they did was, if they couldn't locate the original family, they sent a lot of those kids up here to the relatives. So understanding what's going on and making sure that you have things for them. Build relationships with your participants. I think we talked about that enough. Talk to them more than, just a reminder about the group is coming on, in 2 hours or tomorrow, whatever. Following up with them, making sure that, their case or their trial is going okay, it went okay, making sure that, hey, I sent you an ASQ, what did that look like? What are some of the things that you've done, to help with the development? Just building a relationship is vital. The more relationships you build, the better and the bigger your group will become. Provide incentives. Now, we know everybody is not able to do the grand big old things and do a whole bunch of stuff, but in something just to let the dads know, hey, look, man, if you keep coming, you can, get more of these, or just something like a $25 Target card that will help the dad or help him get, something for his kids. Identify co-hosts, I'm sorry, cannot be understated, right? Trying to do it by yourself is a lot. Especially we at home. I got a 3-year-old, I got a 10-month-old, and something may come up where I need to stay away or step away. So making sure that I have a co-host online with me that I can turn the group over until I get back. Or what if something happens to where I can't make it at all? Do I cancel group? A lot of the guys depended on being there. So someone that you can get to step in your stead that knows the information, and making sure that co-host is a people person and has a passion for the work.
Can I add a little bit to that, Chris?
Go for that. Go for it, Kevo.
Also, it's important because monitoring the chat, noticing when people raise their hands, what else? Just the whole behind the curtain work that needs to be done. It's hard to do that and be the main speaker. Letting people in from the waiting room as they show up. If you're the only person online doing that, that's a lot. That's a lot. So if there's supervisors on the line, please support your facilitators by providing them with a team. You know what I mean? When we do discussions, we got about 5 people that work. Now I know it's a little different. I have a lot more infrastructure support than some may. But if you can identify 2 people to support the facilitator, that would be very helpful, because things come up. People get disconnected, they have to come back on, and so to have a team of folks there to kind of help with the technology, that's what Dara is here doing. Chris and I are presenting right now, and Dara is making sure everything behind the curtain is working smoothly, so that we don't have to worry about that. If somebody puts a question in the chat, when you're sharing your screen, you can't really see the chat all right away. So I can't emphasize that enough, that it is important to have a team of folks if that is at all possible. I get it. Sometimes that may not be possible given how your program is structured, and I know you will do the best you can to make it work. But that is very important with virtual convenings, but also in person as well. So you don't have to be on for the entire time. You have a chance to take a breath if you have someone there with you to support this event. So I just want to add to that. I'll be quiet.
Okay, so the don'ts. All right, here are some things that you should not do, right? Be too loud or be too quiet. Be neutral, right? Several ways we could take that. We could talk about that audibly, right? Don't be yelling into the screen. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Or don't be too quiet and talking like a mouse. Or, just don't have enough content to present or have too much content to present. Be neutral, right? Just have a steady, natural progression to who you are. Be cool, be chillax, and also be yourself, right? Don't dominate the group. Do not dominate the group. Don't give space, time, and room for other people to talk, right? The cafe model is built basically on group discussion. And so, like I said earlier, there may be a time where I'm sorry, y'all. There may be a time where you have to lecture, and that's cool. But if you can pull out, if you can get as much information as possible out of your guys, do it. But do not go on there thinking that I'm going to do everything and dominate the group. Do not work on other tasks or check your email. It is so easy. Someone's probably doing it right now. We're looking at Facebook, we're looking at emails that come through, right? Are we working on this report and things like that? When you're leading a group, you have to give your time and your effort to that group. So don't be distracted by doing that, because what you do, you will end up missing something that is vital that one of your participants are saying or may even need. So do not do other tasks or check emails. Don't assume that one size fits all, right? And what that means is you have to switch it up some, right? Some days you may play a video and let the video do the work and hold the conversation. Some days you may have to do something fun and have some games. Some days you may say, hey, y'all, just if your kid is around, bring your kid on the screen. Let's just say hi to the kid. You have to change it up. Don't assume that, you're going to go through the curriculum all the time. This is what we're going to continue to do. Boom, 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 boom. like change it up. Everybody learns differently. And so reach out and learn how to present to those different learners. Don't have a one-man show, right? Allow other participants, well, don't have one participant, take over, right? You have this celebrity in the group. We all know who he is. And we know it can happen. Like, I'll give you a prime example, and I'm gonna use you, D Weezy. D Weezy is in check right now, right? But D Weezy can be the one-man show, right? So things like that, right? You know who that guy is. Just, hey, I appreciate all the input, but let's give the other guys an opportunity to talk so that it can actually be a group setting, so yeah.
D Weezy, would you like to refute that or confirm?
I completely concur. I'm saying this behind D Weezy back. Yeah, he's a cold piece.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so those guys that can dominate, appreciate them, give them, if they need some time, give them some time, but don't let them be the one-man gang. So best practices for virtual groups: test, retest. Make sure that your sound, your internet is cool. Check your videos, your links. How many times do we present videos and we forget to hit that share sound button, or the video's not ready? Or another thing too, making sure that it's prepped, because once you share your screen, everything is exposed, right? So making sure that the backgrounds is okay, making sure that you don't have something there that shouldn't be there, or something that will make your participants think a little less of you.
Chris, real quick before we move on, are there any more don'ts that anyone wants to share before we move on with other best practices? Are there other things that you should not do that we did not cover on our don't list? No?
Oh, Marvin had one. He put it in the chat. Do you want me to read it, Marvin, or you want to read it?
Go ahead.
Marvin said, don't have side conversations.
Very true. Very true. And make sure people know that the chat, even on Zoom, when you're private chatting, those chats are not private. They come up in the transcripts when we print them out. So I learned that late in the game, and I'm glad it didn't come back to bite me. But just so you know, the private chat, when you chat someone directly, make sure you don't say anything that you don't want the administrator to be able to read, because it comes out in the transcript, just so you know. Anybody else have any additional don'ts? Thanks, Marvin. No? Okay, we'll go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, learn and use a variety of techniques to keep the group participants robust. So in other words, I use Mentimeter. Are any of you guys familiar with Mentimeter? Okay, so what Mentimeter does is, I can ask the question on Mentimeter. Instead of them answering on here, they can use their phone and text their answer, or participate, within the graph or whatever I'm doing. So doing things that's different, as far as that's going to, kind of catch their attention and keep them going up, keep them participating. So Mentimeter is one. I have a trivia situation where I may, teach something, and then I want to have a game at the end to see who learned it and things like that. Use different icebreakers. Don't just do all right, how was your week? Maybe you do a game as an icebreaker or something to that effect. Just kind of switching up, learning different styles on how to facilitate groups. Give specific, effective feedback using two-way communication to enable participants to identify behaviors, situations to be prepared for. So, prime example, I have a guy on my group who's always loud. Like, I don't know if it's his volume, if it's just his speech. And so I have to tell him, listen, sir, this is a situation you have to like either turn your microphone down, sit back from your computer, do something. And because a lot of participants are chatting with me and telling me, hey, look, you know, they're giving me feedback that he's disruptive, it's hurting my eardrums and things like that. And so we're able to have this conversation so that the behavior does not continue to persist on. And you can do this. Well, I did this individually with him, or you can do this within a group. I prefer that you would do something like this individually, just so that you're not putting him on blast in front of the entire group. And that's another thing too. You know, you don't want to put your participants on blast in front of the entire group. You know, utilize the breakout rooms, get them in there, find out what's going on, ask him, and then if not, then you can do like my old buddy Otis used to say, put him in the weight room until you get some act right in.
And Chris, just to add, this is another reason why relationships are important. Because if you don't have that relationship, it's hard to really correct anyone or try to get someone back on the right track if you don't have that positive and a relationship established. This is also why another reason why having a co-host is important.
Yeah.
So that you can pull someone into a breakout room and you have someone else there that can run the group while you guys are sorting things out. So just again, reinforcing some of the things that we've covered already. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Chris.
No worries, no worries. Thank you. Create an emotionally safe environment for optimal participation. Listen, our guys have been beat up enough, right? You know, in relationships, through the system. They're coming here because they're looking for some help. So, you know, making sure that, you know, it's safe for everybody to share. We've had a number of groups where guys broke down and cried because of the stress, because of the heartbreak, because of the tension. And I'm so proud of my group that they never, you know, called him a punk or a sissy, because he was, you know, at the end, he was at wit's end because he hadn't seen his daughter in 6 or 7 months. And so making sure that environments like that are creative, because as you do that, more people will want to participate because, you know, my manhood wasn't challenged, it wasn't attacked because I showed this particular emotion. You know, and even on the vice versa too, right? If I'm angry, I can share my emotion as being angry without them saying I have a anger problem or a temper tantrum or anything like that. So making sure that the environment is emotionally safe. Build in opportunities for fathers to contribute, to develop. Yes, making sure that your dads have some say on curriculum, on themes, and even present topics themselves. I had a guy who was into like healing and massages and things like that. I gave him 30 minutes to present on what he does and what the benefit of them are, right? Stretching and all this different type of things. Getting them involved and giving them a platform to present is going to keep them coming. And they're going to invite people in as well, because they're going to be like, look, I'm presenting at this group. Would you come through this, that, and the other? So it gives you an opportunity to do some outreach as well. Ensure everyone's voice is heard while allowing participation. Now, I have to learn this. But ensuring everyone's voice is heard while allowing participants to do what they are comfortable with. I had a guy who was very reserved, really didn't talk in the larger groups. And so he came to me and said, you know, I'm not that comfortable in, you know, talking in larger group. So I had to utilize my breakout rooms, because he was more comfortable in presenting in smaller group settings. And so doing what you have to do in order for him to be said. And so then once we come out of the breakout rooms, his voice is still heard because the report out, right? Oh, Michael said this, that, and the other, and David said this, that, and the other. And so it still gave them opportunity to speak and voice their opinions without them be feeling bad or feeling uncomfortable and doing it in a larger setting. Recognize and deal with disruptive behavior before they interfere with positive group dynamics. Relationship. The relationship gives you that ability. And if you do not, you know, do it, remind them, hey, look, we have these group agreements. In order for you to be in our safe space, you have to adhere to these group agreement. If not, then you can, if you're the host, you can actually kick them out of the group. So making sure you do, and don't be afraid to do that. I guarantee after a couple of weeks of not being in group, they'll get some act right. They will get some act right. Questions, comments, concerns?
Can I ask? Yeah, I led a session with some parents that I did have a participant that like, yeah, kind of like was taken over the conversation. I think like you were just saying, and it really kind of makes me feel like uncomfortable if I'm being honest. Like I don't want to cut somebody off, especially as they start to become like emotionally vulnerable. They start maybe crying. What tips or advice would you have for that?
That's where using your breakout room, asking him, can we go to the breakout room, because there's a lot more there and we don't want to disrupt from the group. And so pulling him aside, if it was in person, I would take him to another room, right? Put him to another room, talk to him and let him talk as long as he wanted to, right? So that he can get everything out, especially when they start showing emotions and crying and things like that. It's really something that's getting to him. So allowing him to get that out. And then once that's done, making sure that he has a different outlook of what's going on. Normally after a good cry, you feel good, right? But then you still want to give that person some positive reinforcements on what's going on and what the situation may be. And then that presents another opportunity for you to deepen your relationship with that particular person. But utilizing your breakout room, because some guys in the group, they're dealing with some stuff too. And so they may want to talk, so you don't want to shut your group down for this one person. So utilizing your particular breakout rooms to give him the opportunity and space to continue on.
That's a great point, Chris. And Antonio, thanks for bringing it up, because I've been presenting for 10 years now, and it's still hard for me to kind of jump in when someone is kind of taking over the space, and you want to provide, you want to honor his experiences, but you also want to honor the rest of the group, and that is very, very tricky. So I appreciate you bringing it up. Dara, is there anything that you would add to that?
Yeah. First of all, we're not having these conversations on a regular. So sometimes when people show up, this is like the only opportunity they've ever had to say any of this stuff. So it makes sense that people, my mom says, get diarrhea of the mouth. Has anybody ever heard that? Yes. So it makes sense that this is happening. They're getting all of this out. So first of all, it's really being empathetic to the fact, like, this might have been this brother's only chance to say any of this ever in his whole life. So really kind of being there. And then the second part is, how do we open up the conversation for everybody else to jump in on whatever that bruh's saying, right? So you might have to interrupt him, but you say something like, Brother Kevin is really hitting on some stuff a lot of us have probably been through or going through or had to approach, blah, whatever. And then, so now it's off of Kevin and it's on everybody else to bring something to it. And then making sure from the very beginning, we have these agreements, right? Maybe one of the agreements we have is like the step up, step back. Try to be conscious of how much time, group time that you're taking. Sometimes if we're in person, we can have the talking stick. We can create a virtual talking stick too, right? And let people know how we respond to be lean, right? Try to be lean and use words that don't call people out, but call them into, so how we can all share this group together and get what we need.
I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have any tips or best practices that they utilize that we may have missed that they want to add to this list?
I think Barbara's hand is up.
Go ahead, Barbara.
As to what Dara was saying, with that person, that's the only opportunity that person would get to express, himself and get to speak out. And like how, as Christopher was saying, you have two person monitoring the program. One person could take that person aside and hear that person out. And then because somebody in the group might having that same problem and didn't know how to express themselves like that. So with like Christopher would take that person to the side, hear that person out and bring back the person to the group with some of the information that could benefit the others that were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for that, Barbara. Anybody else? Okay. Now we want to take it back to the virtual groups. Describe, or can you name any benefits or opportunities that have been created by going virtual? And I can start. Just access. You know, you don't have to get to a place. You just have to get to a computer or your phone. So our groups, since we went virtual, our attendance actually went up. You know, our workshop, attendance for trainings actually increased when we went to a virtual platform. We've got people coming in from out of state and out of county now that weren't able to, you know, they weren't able to get to Alameda when we were doing things in person every Friday, but they can jump on a Zoom call. So access has improved as a result of going virtual. Does anyone else have anything that they want to share about kind of benefits or opportunities of having virtual groups?
Yeah, I know for us, like you said, the access is very virtual. I think the real time events has helped us out. When the George Floyd protest was happening in San Francisco, we had a participant that was there in San Francisco walking with the protest, actually check in with the group. So we gave him some time, and I mean, he showed us what was going on in the streets and things like that. We were able to talk with him and saying, you know, are there any police around? Are there any rioting or looters or anything like that? And so I you know, I like to call it the breaking news type deal, right? And so he was able to do that. And I thought that was like really cool, because had we been in person, we never would have got that, because we wouldn't have had the technology. But being that everything is virtual now, we were able to, you know, see, you know, what was going on right then and there for those of us that wasn't participating. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Thanks, Chris.
And having dads, like I have a ton of dads that hop on from work and just listen to the group. You know, having that access for fathers that normally would work at that time and couldn't make it to a physical location, but now because they're at work and it's virtual, they can just put us in their ear and listen and things like that. And if they got the time, chime in. So I thought that's like fantastic too.
Thanks, Chris. Alberto said, cost efficient, work-life balance, flexibility, and comfort level. That's a lot in those few. Cost efficient. Yeah, we were able to offer many grants for our Fatherhood Partnership because we weren't providing those lunches for our in-person trainings. Work-life balance. Yes, it allows you to continue on with life while logging on. And like Chris said, plugging it in your ear. And then comfort level. Yes, sometimes just this barrier, the ability to turn off your camera and not be there, but you're there and you're listening. And some people may be a little shy or more reserved, and they might not be willing to get up and come together in person, but they're more willing and more comfortable with getting together online. So yes, I agree. Great points, Alberto. Basically the same things that were said. Some people don't have transportation. Yes, great point. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm also seeing that is for some groups, the sharing gets deep faster. Now, I don't know if that's because we're in COVID or if is because we're on a virtual, but I'll take it because we're getting to the heart of some of the matters much more quickly than sometimes it was happening in person, because I think of the anonymity that you can create on Zoom.
And like you said, Dara, you know, some of these topics, these men have not had the opportunity to be honest about and have real conversations with other men about it. We've got this bravado that we've got to, present when we're in person. And sometimes the virtual space allows you to kind of take that off in some cases. But the men that we've been working with really, really appreciate the space and the opportunity to have some of these conversations about their experiences with their own dad, about things like the dad you are versus the dad you want to be. You know, the relationships that they have with their kids or that they would like to have with their kids, the relationships that they have with their co-parent. These are all topics that, you know, presented in a structured way like we do in our groups, and not just the barbershop talk where it's, yeah, some of that stuff is helpful, but it's a little more structured when you do it in these groups. And it allows dads to let their guard down, be vulnerable, and share what's really going on, not what we want society to see or what we want our friends to see, but what's really going on inside of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's safer. It's safer virtually. It's safer for everyone in multiple different ways to come on to Zoom than it is to actually, when we have to go to a place, first of all, do we know where we're going? Like, just think about all of the effort it takes to go somewhere. And it's going to even take more effort once we go back into person. But to go somewhere, know where we're going, know the room, know the facilitator, know the guys that's going to be there, know like how they're going to, it really takes a lot of courage to show up in person to places that we don't know what's going to go on. On Zoom, we can check it out. We can come in without our face on or in mute and check it out and then go, okay, this is cool. I'm going to stay or I'm not.
It's a lot easier to be the new person on a Zoom meeting than to be the new person walking into a room of 10 or 15 folks.
And you can tell people, you can sell the group like that. Dude, show up, check it out, give us 10 minutes.
Yep.
And if you don't like it, I can understand, you can bounce. But just give us the 10 minutes. You're on your phone, you right? And just like, don't give people the chance to tell you no. Right. And just say, just give me 10 minutes. Most people say, okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. And then, okay, then that means you got to come strong on those 10 minutes though.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Anybody else, any benefits from having these groups virtually?
Can I share something, Kevin?
Absolutely.
I wanted to share something that someone shared with me. It benefits the relationship in the home with the partner and the children, because the dad doesn't have to go anywhere. There's no, he's in the home and the partner can actually be a witness that he's actually at a dad's group or participating in a dad's group, right?
Right.
Sometimes we run into a situation.
Right.
Where are you going?
Oh, you going to a dad's group?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, right.
Great point. And Alberto, as facilitators, we can possibly record and go back and review. Of course, we don't usually, to keep it privacy intact. Yes, that's true. That's a good point. You can go back and review. You definitely want to make sure that you let your group participants know that this is private and you're doing it only for your professional development so that you can go back and see where you can, what worked well and what didn't. But yes, that is definitely something that has come out of it. And for our trainings, we are able to record. That was a huge benefit of going virtual for the Father's Core. Now we can record the trainings, post them on our webpage, so if folks aren't there and can't make it, they can go to the webpage, get the slide deck, watch the video, and follow along right along with the training. So that was a huge benefit of going virtual for our trainings. Thanks for bringing that up, Alberto. Anybody else want to add any?
I do want to add one more thing, and one of the opportunities, and I know we're looking into doing this, is that hopefully in the future we're able to do something with mom and dad virtually, right then and there, right? Doing a parent cafe or something like that with a few couples. So that is an opportunity as well, because they're both going to be in the same house. Why not utilize the opportunity of getting both, mom and dad to participate in something together?
Yeah, or even if they're not in the same house, you know what I'm saying? Those parents who aren't necessarily on the best terms and aren't getting along and might not be in a place where they should be in the same space together. It provides an opportunity to bring folks together virtually while staying separate. That's a great point, Chris. Thanks for bringing it up. Co-parenting in different households. Yep. And I'll say, as much as I like doing things in person, and I hope we will get back to being able to host these trainings in person again eventually, I don't think we'll ever go back to 100% in person for all of the benefits that we just talked about. You know what I mean? I think we'll have a kickoff in person. We'll probably have a mid-session in person, and then a wrap up at the end in person. And all of the convenings in between will be done virtually. And those are our workshops and trainings. I'm not sure what you guys are planning for your fathers groups, but it's something to think about. You know what I'm saying? This pandemic has forced us into a new normal, and it's not all bad. You know what I mean? We just talked about a lot of the reasons why. Anybody else want to share a little bit? All right, what to look out for when hosting dads virtually? Participation. You know, are people really paying attention and engaged? Can you get folks comfortable? Are you building trust? Are there kids around? These are all things to look out for and to be cognizant of as a facilitator. Removing people and placing in waiting room if they are not engaged or if they're falling asleep. We got Otis, who's the general, and Otis say, if you're late, you might be in the waiting room for a while. If you're not paying attention and your camera's not on, we might put you in the waiting room for a while. So just think about what works for you, and respond accordingly. Respect, checking in, making phone calls in between sessions to keep folks engaged, to keep people coming back. Be aware that, you know, you may have to do some casework. You know, you may have to connect dads who are in particular going through particular life experiences with resources. We talked about the literacy around technology, being able to get logged on and turn on your camera and unmute yourself and mute yourself, probably even more importantly. You know, we all have had that person in the group that is constantly unmuting themselves and got, you know, 1,000,001 things going on. So making sure that folks are literate around the technology. Being boring, that is a big one. You can't talk too much. You got to get interactive activities. So dads, they're not showing up to hear you talk. What has worked best for us is, you know, you feed them a little bit of information, and then you give them time to talk about it and reflect on it. Give them a little bit more information, and then you give them time to talk about it and reflect on it. That's what we've seen work best. Language diversity and bilingual groups, that can be tricky. So again, test and retest, so that when you show up on the day of your groups, that things run smoothly. You will lose a lot of engagement participants if things are all start and stop. Some of that stuff is unavoidable, but testing and retesting is how you avoid some of those things. And like we just talked about, Dara was the one who told me this, I think about 8 months, maybe a year ago at this point, that the chats are not private. When you chat someone privately, it can still be seen by when we print out the transcripts for that Zoom call. So please be aware of that and let your dads know that as well. Any final comments, thoughts? Anything that resonated with you? Go ahead.
Looking out for, Kevin?
Go ahead, Chris.
I think one of the things you also want to look out for is your participants' background and what they've done. Since starting virtually, I've had guys lay across the bed and they butt was exposed. I've had guys that had inappropriate things on the TV. I had guys who their girl actually got in front of the camera and started dancing. So yes. I said she's a little too fast. She must know some guys on here. So you want to be careful of that, and you know, have your mute and your turn off screen button like really close, because yes, stuff like that do happen. So be careful.
I think you shared something about somebody smoking on camera, right?
Smoking, drinking. Shoot, we all mandated reporters. You may see a child getting hit, so you really want to be careful about what's going on in the background as well.
Thanks, Chris. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, at our last Cafe Dad, we had that same issue. We had a father that was actually really engaged. I mean, he had a lot of strong points. And then he was in his backyard. Has like a nice deck patio, and he just started blazing one up, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah." And I'm just wondering, like, what's going through your mind, like, and he was very casual about it, almost like if it was a cigar, you know what I mean? But it was just kind of like, so having to reach out and have that conversation where it's kind of like, I was telling Sabrina and my other colleagues is kind of just using that word like, hey, I understand that, it is legal now and things like that, but, we don't know where our fathers are coming from. We might have some fathers that are in recovery, and that might be a trigger for them. So nothing against you or whatever your, extracurricular activities are, but just be mindful that we might have other fathers in the space who might see that and be like, man, I really wish I could, you know what I mean? So finding a way to kind of ease onto the topic, but not pointing fingers, and really just being able to like find a rational way to bring it up and hey, for others, let's be mindful of this because like I said, it could be a trigger potentially to some other people. And I think that's the easiest way to really come across to somebody's, oh, you know what, I didn't think of that. So
right. And acknowledging that might be what he needs to get him through the day. You know what I mean? So, acknowledging both sides that, let's just turn off the camera, no judgment on you. But I love the point you made about it could be a trigger for somebody else, and we don't want to be the reason that somebody gets off track. So that's a good point, Eduardo. Thanks. Anybody else?
Kevin, I know this isn't about like virtual or online, but I just want to appreciate you all for continuing to hold this space, offering additional funding for us to continue the work. And also, I want to encourage us, with the video that you have, if you can send it over. I didn't get a chance to see it at the beginning because I was coming off another meeting, but I think it's really important that we promote this beyond our groups. I would really like to do like a loop memo with our board members so that our board is knowledgeable about the programs that we're doing in Hayward, and giving thanks to First Five and the Father Corps for really, supporting this. So if you work for organizations that have a board or those that are funders, I think it's important and critical that we even reach out to, other figures in our community to let them know about this work so that it can continue and expand beyond what we're doing here. Because again, I just appreciate this space and allowing us the opportunity to receive training and ongoing support. But I want to say that let's continue to promote this work beyond the groups that we're in as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sabrina, I think at least a couple of your dads were highlighted in the video. So we're trying to get it posted on our webpage and our YouTube channel. So I will send that link out as soon as it is available. And it was, there is no better commercial for this work than hearing from the dads who participated in your group. For those of you who are on the call and had the opportunity to see the video, you guys saw that it was those groups like help some dads get on the right track. It was a savior for some of those dads. And the work you guys are doing is important because like we talked about early on, just all that's going on in society today, it's important to have a space for fathers to lean on each other, learn together, and support each other. And that's what you guys are doing. So I can't thank you guys enough for the work. If you guys don't show up, the Father's Corps doesn't exist. You know what I mean? If you guys aren't engaged, the Father's Corps doesn't exist. If you guys don't believe in this work, the Father's Corps doesn't exist, so I appreciate you. And I appreciate your commitments to engaging and supporting fathers and father figures. And I think if we can move the needle on this issue, our communities look different, our families look different, our programs look different, so we just put the link to